Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The significance of the term Dhammacakka or Chakka for that matter, wheel. That is the wheel symbology. We are discussing the Dhammacakka Bhante Sutta. The whole 3 months of rains retreat will consist of this one sutta. On that, in a series, we will be discussing this entire sutta. Now, this sutta contains all the, the major teachings, the core teachings of the Buddha. Whatever the Buddha taught for 45 years thereafter. Now, all those teachings were just extensions. They were elaborations of what the Buddha taught in the Dhammacakka Bhante Sutta. So the importance of this sutta can never be overemphasized. It is indeed the very heart of Buddha's teachings. So a clear understanding of these teachings can bring about spiritual transformation in any serious seeker of truth. Now, in the first discourse, we only gave the introduction to this sutta, and in this introduction, we mentioned some of the biographical details of the Buddha, and thereafter, a brief introduction to the various the teachings of Dhammacakka Bhante Sutta. But from today onwards, as the series continues, concept by concept, basic ideas, basic philosophical, spiritual and moral teachings, and their importance to day-to-day life for every seeker of enlightenment. So today we will start with the concept of Chakka. Chakka means chakra. Dhammacakka Bhante Sutta. The wheel of truth, Dhammacakka, which replaced the Raja Chakra of Ashoka, the great emperor Ashoka, who became the greatest Buddhist emperor ever. Now, you have heard the name of H.G. Wells. He is one of the greatest historians of his time and even of our time in modern days. He wrote 25 volumes of the history of the world, and there, when he was discussing about emperors, he said, the greatest emperor who ever lived on earth was an Indian, not a European, not a ruling race of today. He was an Indian emperor, the Ashoka, who was converted from being a Chanda, Ashoka the fierce, Chanda Ashoka, into Dharma Ashoka, Ashoka the righteous. And he ruled with righteousness, with Dharma, and he transformed his empire in a manner nobody has ever succeeded thereafter. It's a unique achievement of a being, and all through the proper management of life in terms of Dhamma, the teachings of truth, which the Lord Buddha discovered as the final solution to all the problems and difficulties of life. So, today, Dhammacakka, I will give you a historical episode, a story from where the word Chakka, comes, and it's very, very interesting indeed. It's a historical story, and a story is always very interesting, as you know, but it will be full of meaning because so much of other teachings will be, you see, it will be a kind of nodal, presentation of the story, where, you see, from a node, leaves and stems, in biology, you see, stems fork out. So from these details of story, you will get wonderful principles and teachings which you can apply in your day-to-day life. So now the site is Kalinga. Kalinga was a very, very prosperous country in the time of the Buddha. I mean the time of Ashoka. The king was contemporary, a very powerful and extremely rich king. He presided over a very powerful kingdom. It is dotted with so many ports, and all the import-export activities from India flowed in his kingdom. So many ports, and the wealth of the country came through these ports. So now, he was a powerful, his family was known, the royal family. Now Ashoka was a governor of the present Kandahar, what you call Kandahar. His father was on his deathbed. Before that, so he was a quiet-going king with many wives and many, many sons indeed. And Ashoka, though the youngest, was very competent and powerful and tough militarist. In fact, he was general in the army of his father. And so he was appointed to put down the rebellions and all the difficulties that in the western part of his empire, which Chandragupta, his grandfather, had established. Now Macedonian king Alexander had attacked that part of India, and Chandragupta was capable general, and he was able to, defeat this Macedonian Greek king, very powerful king indeed, Alexander. And the Western people are very proud of him, but they don't know that an Indian king gave a good beating to him, so much so that he had to quit. He couldn't go anymore in the east. He had to stop his eastern invasion. Now, so Ashoka was sent as a governor in this area. This area was known as Gandhara, very famous in Indian literature, in Indian mythology, in all philosophical, religious and other literature. You will have plenty of accounts about Gandhara. Now, Ashoka, with his military abilities, he put down these tough tribals known as Pashtun today. They were known as Paisachi at that time. Pisacha, you have heard the word Pisacha, which simply means evil spirit, a ghost. But that's a metaphor also for describing a very fierce type of human beings. So these tribals were fierce. Even today they are very fierce. And you see this Taliban and whatnot, all the problem we are having today, are these Paisachis only. So however, so he put them down and he built an army with them, with a very good contingent of these tough fighters. He had the ambition of becoming, a Raja Chakravarti, not merely Rajadhiraja. The empire that his father had built from his grandfather down, Mauryan Empire. It was a powerful empire at that time. It extended right up to Vindhyachala, from Himachala to Vindhyachala. So his ambition was from the Gandhara to Kalinga, that is Ahimachala Samudra. Asamudra Himachala Vindhyachala and Hindu Kush. That was his dream. The huge land mass over which he wanted to preside as a Raja Chakravarti. So he was preparing himself, and he did prepare very well indeed. He built these armies, and quietly nobody knew what his intentions were. So now when his father's in the deathbed, he heard that father was in the deathbed, he took a large contingent of these people with him, and then he divided others into small parties and told them one after the other they should come and establish themselves around the Pataliputra, city of Pataliputra, and around his immediate, Magadha. Magadha, the kingdom of Magadha. And he surrounded also Kalinga. His eye was on Kalinga. That is the richest country, and that led to Samudra, nowhere else, to the sea. So he wanted that he should have a sea entrance and fulfill the idea of an emperor who ruled up to the sea, from the mountain to the sea. So now, and he succeeded. When the father died, after the father's obsequies, all these ceremonies and all that, he believed in, yajna very much. And he had many yajnas conducted, for the success of his expeditions. So now, after everything was quiet, the father's empire, the royal council then announced who will be the next king, the most able of all the brothers. The brothers started, all kinds of politicking and here, there and all. Ashoka succeeded in putting down every one of them. He had put small groups of these Paisachis, the soldiers, the tough fighters. And immediately after the council, announced that it has to be settled, he attacked the houses of all his brothers. He just sent these soldiers into their houses and occupied them and kept them under, house arrest, so to say. And now that is how he claimed to be the best candidate, and he succeeded in becoming the king. And all his brothers were now, many of them died, of course. There was struggle and fight and this, that, all kinds of things. So those details we need not go. So now Ashoka, having become the Rajadhiraja, he then announced that he wants to be a Samrat, an emperor of a great empire which starts from Gandhara to ocean, to the Indian Sea. And so after announcing, he attacked, and there was tough fighting. The king there did not give in. He also fought. The result was he lost his life, lost his army. The entire area was completely devastated, completely destroyed. So Ashoka, having destroyed Kalinga, he was now as a victor in the Kalinga capital. He decided to inspect the result of his war. And for one whole week, on the horses, on the back of the horse, he went round all over this city and the country around, and he ordered his contingents to come and take over the entire city. That is how he organized. Then he called a meeting of all the the military and also civilian officials and so on. He called them and decided to make an assessment of the damages. The magnitude of the damage was so great and so devastating. Desolation was so horrible. He lost his mind. He was unable to sleep for a whole week. And he was having a continuous meeting from morning till evening. And that made things even worse. He was unable to think, unable to sleep. Absolutely miserable man. Now, at the end of the week, on the 8th night, he just couldn't sleep, he couldn't do anything, he walked out. When all were asleep around midnight, he just slinked away, walking just, mindless. And he entered into the smashana, a crematorium where all these important, near the palace only, all the princes, the kings and all the others were cremated there, and important people. So these people, he was roaming about because this was a special cremation ground with high, big trees and absolutely certain silence. In that night, silent night, only the twinkling of the stars, he could see here and there objects, but they were all still and silent. He moved about, suddenly heard a noise. He said, Devanam piyatis piya, ehi idha upasamo santi idhati. He called this voice, called him by his personal name, his private name. Only his father and mother could call him by that name. When he heard that, suddenly he became very, very annoyed and angry. What? An emperor to be called by name? Who dares to do that? I must behead him. So he opened his sword from the cupboard and he looked around it all over the crematorium, cremation ground, those huge trees and absolute silence. Then after a while again the voice said, Devanam piya idha agachai, ehi idha shanti. Devanam piya, beloved of the gods, come here. There is peace here. There is tranquility here, upasama. No more conflict, no more suffering. There is peace. Come here. So when he heard this, now this was the voice of Nigrodha, the monk Nigrodha, who was an Arahat. And who was Nigrodha? His own nephew, his eldest brother's son, who had become a monk under the most venerable and the great saint Moggaliputta Tissa, who became the guru of Ashoka later on. Now his guru had seen through all these things, and Nigrodha had seen through all these things by his Dhammacakka. He was a powerfully endowed monk, an Arhat, who could see through things with his supernormal powers. And he was seated under a tree, under a vata vriksha. These smashanas have these vatas, and with a Vedic, that is a kind of platform. On it he was sitting, and he ordered, Devanam piya. He called him by his private name, which nobody would dare. Now, when the second time he called him, he got absolutely angry, and all that Chandasoka in him came out with that sword in his hand. Now he pursued. He said he was just, he focused his attention fully, totally on the direction from which the voice came. So now, as the third time the voice came and he went there. There the monk was seated in all his majesty, spiritual majesty. Bright, radiant in appearance, calm, peaceful, and radiating powerful thoughts of universal love, metta, maitri bhavana, universal love. He was projecting powerful thoughts of universal love at him, and he said, Raja Dhiraja, sit down please. And that was a beautiful carpet of grass, and he sat down. And he said, close your eyes, Maharaj, and just be seated. Now, you enjoy peace here. There is peace. Peace that can be felt, not only felt, but that can be touched. Maharaja, close your eyes, focus your attention on your navel, just above the navel, in this area, in your abdomen area. As you breathe in, you will see that it arises, it expands. As you breathe out, it contracts. So this rise and fall movement created by breathing in and breathing out, inhaling and exhaling. Just watch it. Maharaj, watch that. Just observe that motion, that movement. You are breathing in and it expands, it rises. You see, as it rises, you just note, rise. As it falls, note it falls. Keep on doing it, and then he focused his powerful metta, radiated metta vibrations on him, and lo and he was absolutely immersed in peace. He felt completely at peace and completely calm. You see, a kind of peace that overpowered him, and he just